morning. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Kanishka Sarkar and Ankita Saxena. Over the next 1 hour, we'll take you through all the global and domestic cues that you need to keep on your radar today, and also tell you about the stocks that you need to watch out for before the start of D3 today. But before that, let's get started with an eye on the globe. And of course, the top story is the Fed rate cut that has come in. But let's first tell you how the U.S. markets reacted to that. Now, the Wall Street had a choppy session overnight after the Federal Reserve delivered a widely expected quarter-point rate cut. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average was the sole gainer among the major averages. Now, that closed up 260 points, or about 0.5%, whereas the S&P 500, that slipped about 0.1%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq index, that also eased about 0.3%. Now, the Fed move was seen as a risk management, with Chair Jerome Powell signaling caution on the pace of future cuts. The policymakers have projected 2 more cuts this year, but only 1 in 2026, far fewer than what the traders had priced in. For the week so far, however, there's a tone that remains positive. The S&P 500 is up about 0.2%, pacing for its 6th gain in 7 weeks, while the Nasdaq, that is added about 0.5%, on track for its 3rd straight winning week, whereas the Dow, that is higher about 4.2%, which would mark a 2nd consecutive weekly advance. Well, what to watch out for next? Of course, it's the investors. They're now tracking upcoming U.S. economic data and the Fed commentary to gauge how far the rate cut cycle can realistically go.
All right, moving on then, let's take stock of how the crude is faring then. If you look at the crude prices, oil prices eased on Wednesday. After we did see that data showing an increase in the U.S. diesel stockpiles that has stoked, worries about demand at the U.S. Federal Reserve that cut interest rate as expected. Crude falls the 3-day advance despite, the supply risks. We do see Brent crude settling in at $67.87 a barrel, and the WTI settling in at $63.95 a barrel. Now remember, the U.S. crude inventories fell sharply last week with a jump in exports and a sharp decline in the imports. And the Energy Information Administration said on Wednesday that the rise in the distilled stockpile stoked demand concerns and has kept the oil prices in check, or has kept a lid on the oil prices. So as of now, we do see Brent settling in at $67 and thereabouts, and WTI around $63.95 a barrel. So that's where the crude is trading at.